Community is a word we throw around all the time. But have you ever really stopped to think about what it actually means? Because it's way more than just the town you live in. It's this powerful force that shapes pretty much everything. So today, we're going to dig in and figure out what makes a community tick. And that really brings us to the big question, right? The one at the heart of all of this. I mean, it can't just be about living next door to someone. There's got to be some kind of secret sauce, that special ingredient that turns a random bunch of people into a real, living, breathing community.
Okay, so to answer that, we've got to start with the basics. Let's make sure we're all on the same page.
All right, so here's the foundational idea. A community isn't just a dot on a map. It's a network of human relationships. Think of it like all these invisible threads, shared beliefs, values, maybe a common identity that tie us all together. This idea is super important, so keep it in your back pocket because it's the foundation for everything else we're going to get into. Okay, we've got our definition. Now let's pull it apart. Let's look at the anatomy of a community. What are the essential bits and pieces that every single community, whether it's huge or tiny, actually shares? So yeah, it definitely starts with a group of people in a certain spot, but what really makes it come alive, what breathes life into it, is that shared feeling, right? That sense of belonging, of having common goals. Just think about your own neighborhood for a second. It's got a name, right? It probably just kind of formed on its own, and it's defined by the people who share that space and purpose. Another cool way to think about it is that you can view any community through these 5 different lenses. You've got the political side of things, how it's governed. Then there's the social aspect, which is all about how people interact. The economic part covers how people make a living. Geographical is, well, the physical space. And finally, cultural is that shared identity. Every single community out there is its own unique mix of these 5 things. And you can really see how this plays out when you compare different types of communities. Take a rural community, for example. The population is spread out, so interactions tend to be way more personal, more familiar. Now, contrast that with a big city. Life is way more industrialized, and with so many people, interactions can feel a lot more impersonal. It's not good or bad, just a totally different vibe, all because of the scale. All right, so I think we've got a pretty good handle on what a community is. But here's the thing. Communities are never just static. They're always changing, always evolving. They're alive. So now, let's talk about that shift from just being a community to actually doing something as a community. First up is this idea of community dynamics. The best way to picture it is like the engine of a car. It's all the stuff happening under the hood, the unseen forces. We're talking about the constant process of change, subtle shifts in power, new leaders popping up, that quiet hum of social evolution that's always there. And if the dynamics are the engine, while community action is what happens when someone actually gets in, turns the key, and starts driving. This is the deliberate, collective stuff, people coming together to tackle a shared problem. It's where engagement, solidarity, and just being a good citizen really take the wheel. So here's the simple breakdown. Dynamics are the potential for change. That's the engine, just sitting there, ready to go. But action, that's when you realize that potential. It's actually getting behind the wheel and hitting the gas through things like volunteering, organizing, or advocating for a cause. But that brings up a really important question. I mean, for a community to actually do something together, people have to feel like they're part of a we, right? So how does that happen? How does that shared identity get built in the first place? Well, it seems to happen in about 3 key steps. First, there's the cognitive part, just getting on the same page about goals and what's going on. Then comes the second step, building real relationships, actually connecting with each other. And the final piece of the puzzle is the emotional investment. Celebrating wins together and, just as importantly, supporting each other when things get tough. Okay, so we get the how behind community action. But now let's zoom out and talk about the why. What's the bigger purpose here? What's the ultimate goal that drives all this work? This quote from JFK just nails it. It really gets at our shared responsibility. The idea is that a community is only as strong as its most vulnerable member. And that whole concept is built on the foundation of human rights. I mean, these are the fundamental, non-negotiable rights that every single one of us has just because we're human. They really act as the moral compass, the true north for any meaningful community action. And when our actions are guided by human rights, the goal is always to achieve the common good. And that's not just about what's good for one person. It's about creating those things that benefit everybody. Things like great public schools, safe parks, a justice system that's actually fair, stuff that lifts the entire community up.
Working towards the common good sounds great, right? But how do we know we're heading in the right direction? What are the core values that should be guiding us on that journey?
It turns out there are 5 core values that are absolutely key. It all starts with human rights and social justice. From there, it's about empowering and advocating for those on the margins. It has to involve everyone. That's participatory development. And it absolutely must promote gender equality. When you put all those together, you can be pretty sure the work you're doing is for the good of everyone. So we've gone through the what, the how, and the why of community. Now it's time to bring it all home. Let's talk about the single most important part of any community, which is, of course, you. So what does it actually look like to be a good citizen? Well, it's so much more than just following the rules. It's about actively taking part. It's about volunteering, standing in solidarity with your neighbors, treating people with equality, and hey, it's about pulling your weight instead of being a free rider. It's about being willing to step up for the good of the whole group. And really, that's the main takeaway here. A strong community isn't something that's just built by politicians or CEOs. Nope, it's built from the ground up. It's built by the small, everyday actions of people like you and people like me, all chipping in to create that common good. So, we're going to leave you with one last thing to chew on. Is it possible that a lot of our biggest social problems exist because we become too focused on the me instead of the we? It's a really powerful question, and it gets to the very core of what it means to live together in a society. Definitely something for all of us to think about.